As Eric Hoffer once wrote, the search for happiness is one of the chief sources of unhappiness. I grew up chasing a version of happiness that everyone told me was the ideal version. I believed that checking all the right boxes would somehow make me feel fulfilled. But in reality, I felt more disconnected from myself. I'm not someone who has it all figured out. I am simply someone living through the mess. This talk isn't about perfection, but about being honest and admitting happiness isn't a destination, but a process. Tonight, we will explore the ideas of reclaiming my happiness, redefining happiness, and letting go of the pressure to always feel okay. From a young age, I had to reclaim my happiness in a place that was never meant for me to thrive in. This led me to question my identity because I craved a sense of belonging. At the age of 7, I moved to the United States from El Salvador. I found myself trying to assimilate to American culture very early on, taking English lessons for years, constantly playing catch up, and feeling like I'm 3 steps behind everyone else. According to the American Psychological Association, in their 2025 report for mental health professionals, they found immigrant children often experience acculturative stress, which is the tension of balancing 2 cultures while trying to fit into one. Immigrant children face the challenge of adapting to a new environment while attempting to stay close to their own heritage. I experienced this firsthand, being torn between my culture and the new one I wanted to so badly fit into. As a child, I thought belonging would bring me a sense of happiness. And at home, happiness meant something else entirely. For my family, happiness was linked to stability rather than fulfillment. A roof over our heads, food on the table, and safety. I understood why, because for a long time, surviving was succeeding. But I wanted more, and that made me feel guilty. Was I selfish for craving more when my parents had given up so much just to provide me with stability? That's where I feel like my search for happiness really began. Trying to stay true to the culture that raised me while trying to thrive in the one I was living in. I've spent most of my life designing happiness like a checklist. In a world that tells young women of color to be grateful just to exist in certain spaces, I wasn't designing joy, I was performing. Happiness is often looked at like a master plan. Like we're supposed to know exactly who we are, what we want, what brings us peace, and somehow build around that. But the truth is, I don't know. We have to figure it all out while life keeps moving. And that's where I currently find myself. I'm a student, a business owner, a Latina, and a leader. Some days I'm all those things, and other days I'm not even sure I'm myself. I've tried designing happiness based on what others say should make me feel fulfilled. But I'm simply designing around something unfinished. In an article by Dick Stratz, a professor at the University of California, he found 1 in 3 college students identify as first generation. Being first generation comes with the pressure to succeed and different challenges to overcome. As a first generation student, I knew I had to make my family proud, and I confused their approval with a false sense of fulfillment. When I entered Towson University, I worked hard, and every exam I aced and every paper I did well on became the source of my happiness. Then sophomore year came around and I signed up for Ethics 101. To make a long story short, it was terrible. I started falling behind, trying to play catch up, but it just wasn't enough to keep up. When grades finally came in, I realized I had gotten my first C. It didn't matter how hard I had tried, the pressure I put on myself to succeed made that C feel like a complete failure. The truth is, when you lack a sense of identity, you allow every little bump to define who you are. And in that moment, I let that grade define me. The academic pressure to succeed was weighing on my shoulders, not just for myself, but for my family. But I've learned my education is not what defines me. It's only a small part of what makes me, me. Letting go of the idea that happiness only came from achievement was the first step. Beyond my academics, I tied happiness to perfection, trying to be perfect in everything: school, work, leadership, and even in my friendships. The problem is, perfection doesn't exist. and chasing it left happiness out of my reach. The pressure to perform started to steal my joy. Working 2 jobs, being a full-time student, it just wasn't enough. If I did well, I felt like I had earned my place, but any small mistake left me feeling like I was letting everyone down. The feeling of happiness when I excelled pushed me to work harder, but the absence of it left me feeling empty. I expected my happiness to come when I had everything figured out, but instead it came when I let it all go. By admitting to myself I was lost and being okay with that, I learned to build my joy in the present rather than waiting for perfection. I was convinced my happiness would come after the mess, but it was in those messy moments where the happiness found me. I was able to let go of that pressure, but I found myself trying new things that I thought would make me happy, and yet none of it filled that gap. That's when I started to ask myself, do I even know what happiness feels like? I've tried the self-help remedies like journaling, podcasts, and deleting social media, and I'm not alone in my search. According to the Global Mental Wellness Institute, a nonprofit research organization, the global mental wellness economy is worth $120.8 billion, and the largest part of that being the self-help industry at $33.6 billion. That goes to show how many of us are looking for the same answers. But what these remedies imply is that there's something wrong with us when we don't live in their ideal version of happiness. I've tried to fix myself to feel happy, and yet none of it stuck. I've come to understand it's not about what we do to be happy, but why we think we must feel happy all the time in the first place. So the goal for me isn't happiness, but to stop apologizing for not feeling it all the time. What if we've been designing happiness, our happiness, to please others, and the version of joy we've been conditioned to experience actually makes us miserable? One of the bravest things we can do is admit we don't feel okay and still keep pushing. Many people believe we must design our lives around what makes us content. But what if we stopped chasing our ideal version of happiness and asked ourselves, why do we have to be happy all the time? Now, I'm not saying we should give up on this idea altogether, but let go of the pressure to always feel happy and allow ourselves to be unhappy. Admitting we don't have it all figured out, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. I still find myself in the middle of this process, and although it's messy, I know it will find me. Happiness isn't a magical solution or an end goal. It's something we stumble upon while finding ourselves. So as we reach the end of this talk, I want to remind you of this. Happiness isn't a destination or a checklist. It's a process, it's messy, and it's unfinished. You might have been told your happiness will come once you have it all figured out. Once you get that promotion or that new car or when you finally graduate. But it's not about waiting. It's about finding yourself in the chaos and joy along with it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to allow yourself to feel happy. Stop waiting for the grade or the perfect relationship or your dream job. Be honest with yourself about how you feel and don't be afraid to admit you aren't happy. Own the messy moments and give yourself grace. Happiness is built through the process, and allowing ourselves to experience it is the first step. So I challenge you that the next time you think to yourself, I'll be happy when, you ask yourself, how can I build my own joy in this moment? Thank you.